Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Business Today. I'm Jerome Paul Sonko with Winnie Williams and Akauchi on sign language. This is Business Today. And we start off with our very fast, as President Yoweri Museveni has said that to ensure prosperity, Africa must become one market under the spirit of Pan-Africanism. President Museveni notes that some Ugandans have started engaging in commercial agriculture, which has led to excess production that cannot be maximized by the local markets. This and more in our Green Economy report.
While delivering a lecture on the opportunity to cadet officers of the 2019 to 2022 intake at Kabamba Military Academy, President Museveni noted that to ensure prosperity, Africa must become one market under the spirit of Pan-Africanism. His Excellency General Museveni noted that some Ugandans have started engaging in commercial agriculture, which has led to excess production that cannot be consumed by the local market alone.
Now we have got excess milk, we have got excess sugar, excess maize, excess cement, excess soap, excess mitayimbwa, the factories have come up, excess tires. Even patriotism is no longer enough. So we added the second principle, Pan-Africanism. Banange. Muliwano, Musovedwa, you don't know what to do. But there is East Africa. Why don't you go and reach understanding with Kenya, with Tanzania, with Rwanda, with Burundi, with South Sudan, with Congo, and we become, we put together our markets so that they become one market.
According to the UN's Food and Agriculture Organization, Uganda's fertile agricultural land has the potential to feed over 200 million people. In the financial year 2021 to 2022, agriculture accounted for about 24.1% of the GDP and 33% of the export earnings. Therefore, President Museveni emphasized the need for irrigation, which can only work if people stop encroaching on the wetlands.
Now get only one season because the climate has, the rain is not reliable. So we are going to shift from rain-fed agriculture to irrigated agriculture. And in order to do that, we need the swamps with water. So that we shall have this business of saying there is war in Ukraine and Africans are dying from hunger is a big shame. As if there are no human beings here who have arms to create. So we are not going to be part of this. We are going to irrigate and produce all the year round. There will be so much production that we will have to get big external markets.
During the Green Economy East African launch, the Minister for Energy and Mineral Development, Ruth Nankabira, said that the Cabinet has resolved to evict those on the wetlands.
Recently, there was a big debate in Cabinet, and the President directed that all those who are in wetlands this time round, this is the time that God chose that we implement our laws. Because we are not supposed to be in wetlands. We have demarcated places. You are lucky that I've told you. If I have told you anybody else.
At the end of the day, when the government releases the funding or the opportunities, the Ugandan out there must know what opportunities are available in the green economy, what the green economy is. So it's very important that it's both ways. The private sector and the government sector need to work together collaboratively to enable us to achieve such sustainable development.
The green growth transition will deliver, according to the National Planning Authority, an additional 4 million jobs in agriculture, waste management and recycling, among others. Pedson Mumbere, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
All right, now we head to the express highway penalties as taxi operators have condemned the police for impounding their vehicles over the debt of the express penalties scheme. This has come after the announcement of the new operation against errant drivers, in which the repeat offenders would be forwarded to the court instead of the common penalty fine. We have the details to this one.
The express penalty scheme, popularly known as the Iron Spot Fine, was introduced by the Ministry of Works and Transport in 2002 under the Traffic and Road Safety Act 1998. The scheme requires a person that commits a minor offense not to be taken to the court but to be fined. Several taxi operators have fallen victims to traffic offences. These include poor signpost interpretation, owning expired permits, among others. The tax authorities have outcried this unexpected directive.
Olwaleero tuli mu mbeera ya bweneke olw'ekiragiro kya poliisi kye yakola ku Friday.
As tax operators, we are in total grief due to the police directive of arresting the defaulters on the express penalty scheme. For the whole weekend, we've been trying to negotiate with the authorities, and we accept the debts, but we don't have that much, though willing to pay. Police resumed impounding all our cars fined on the express penalty scheme, but it's more about us, taxi operators, though not us, but other operators. For instance, one can be served over 2 tickets in a month in different areas, and after every month, the money has a 50% surcharge.
The stakeholders, however, believe this can be done in a favorable way, benefiting both parties to overcome excessive losses.
According to the economic situation, everyone is struggling. We feel like the government has driven us out of business. I feel like this should be about negotiations where one can pay a fine at a time. To me, I think it's not only the government, but also the police should halt this, since we are already battling high commodity prices. Sincerely, we will be out of business.
The arrest of the defaulters will be to recover 8 billion shillings, which has remained unclear since January 2020. A total of over 220,000 EPs tickets worth 18.5 billion have been issued since January this year, but only 12 billion shillings has been paid by the defaulters. Desire Nambiru, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
All right, now away from that report by Desire Nambiru, we head to the economy development in Uganda. As this time round, the State Minister in charge of Northern Uganda, Grace Chiwunchinyi, has urged locals from the West Nile district of Madi Okolo to take up the opportunities under the parish development model. Chiwunchinyi was participating in a groundbreaking event for business infrastructure facilities in Madi Okolo districts, which were funded by the World Bank. Parish Mumbere reports.
Madi Okolo is part of the hard-to-reach areas in West Nile, now benefiting from the modern markets and resource centers, easing the burden of locals and refugee communities. While participating in the ground event for business infrastructure facilities in Madi Okolo district funded by the World Bank, Grace Chiwunchinyi, the state minister in charge of Northern Uganda, urged the locals to embrace parish development model to fight poverty in the region.
That people are exposing to us, for me this is good. My office is coming back with Nusa 4 fighting poverty. Because when the government has done this is infrastructure. It may not get you out of poverty. But the parish development model is designed to get us out of poverty. Nusa 4 is also designed to get us out of poverty, because it is going to give you resources. It is going to strengthen you in your farming, in your business, in whatever you are doing, so that you get more income.
The parish development model is meant to boost economic growth as well. According to the data from the Uganda Bureau of Statistics, the size of the economy in financial year 2020 to 2021 in real terms the economy registered a growth rate of 3.3%, which signals a steady economic recovery from the 3.0% in financial year 2019 to 2020. The state minister in charge of the northern Uganda with other leaders spoke during the groundbreaking of various projects in Madiokolo district funded by the World Bank through the Uganda support to municipal infrastructure development.
About not being patriotic, but it was a national procurement. Out of all the contractors, we have 8. I think we have quite a few of them who qualified to be from the region. But that does not stop any other Ugandan from getting the projects. Now that they have got the projects, from my visits, I made it known to them that the benefits of these projects should go to the local community.
That way, let's all be winners. You win, I win, government wins, everybody wins, and the people of Madi win. Then they can give you more contracts. Yes, and more is coming. This time we're going to assess it depending on the quality of work you have done. Very seriously. Not these people they call procurement officer who lock themselves. Then they are. This one is qualified. No. This time we shall say, how has he qualified? This was sometimes they qualified. I'm not saying it is you. Sometimes they qualify because of 10%.
Contractors undertaking the various civil works, despite the noted delays in the progress of the construction, are being cautioned against corrupting local government officials and shadow works. There is a need to ensure increased economic activities in agricultural production and value addition if the new infrastructure is to be impactful. Among the districts benefiting from the financing for infrastructures such as markets, resource centers, and other related youth facilities include Terego, Yumbe, Ajimani, Obongi, Moyo, and many more other districts. Pedson Mumbere, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
All right, now away from that, let's talk debt transparency. Civil society organizations have called for public debt transparency and accountability in Uganda. Public debt, it's a huge part of the country's revenue. The adverse effect of the high level of borrowing is felt through interest payments of over 5.5 trillion Ugandan shillings in the financial year 2022-2023, rising from 2.4 trillion Ugandan shillings in the financial year 2017 to 2018. There has been growing concern about the lack of transparency in public debt management. Now, this time around, the civil society organizations have shared their views and proposals in regards to public debt transparency and accountability in Uganda. We have the report.
With public debt levels rising in Uganda and the changing debt composition, there has been a shift away from the concessional debt towards market-based sources of financing such as planned and non-concessional. This has made public debt more vulnerable to interest rate fluctuations and rollover risk over the medium term, especially investment into huge infrastructure projects. In the light of the above, civil society organizations, including Siatini Uganda, Transparency International Uganda, and the Uganda Debt Network, have shared views and proposals regarding the transparency and the accountability of public debt in Uganda.
It's true when we speak about debt, it does not stop on only loans and so on. But we even look at debts that government owns domestically. And this is what we are saying, that so long as there's opaqueness in information, so long as we don't know what loans are performing, we don't know the amount of loans that are being that are out there, whether domestic or external, it will create a problem for mismanagement of those loans. It will create a problem that some of them won't be performing. Then it will also create a problem that a lot of money shall be tied in debt without the public knowing, and that's open to mismanagement, as you say. So that's why we're calling for more transparency, so that we know what is happening out there, what loans are there, how are they performing, etc. and etc. That's why we're even calling for a debt register. We're calling for government to publish a debt register to show what loans are out there, how are they performing, what are the conditions, what is being done about them, and so on and so forth.
The preferences of external or domestic borrowing are no hindrance as long as they remove the government from debt. However, they are very effective to the private sector.
We definitely don't want to, we want to see to it that we actually exit the debt area in regards to how government is looking at borrowing as a channel to financing development priorities. But when you put it between domestic and external, is that even for domestic, we have really surpassed the threshold between 20%, which ideally is what we should be ensuring, government is supposed to be ensuring that they are within that threshold of borrowing. But you get to realize, because of the focus of external borrowing, we get to forget the bigger picture, that domestic borrowing actually does have an impact on borrowing in general. So when it comes to domestic borrowing, when government decides to borrow domestically, that's how we get to realize that we're actually having the private sector being crowded out from even being able to do business, because most of the times, while we may want them to be able to be fully in position to actually compete or bid for certain projects, they actually get to be fully capitalized on, and actually this reduces their financing.
In addition, Parliament should ensure the value for money for the loans borrowed to avoid leakages and wasteful expenditure.
It's ready for the money. Why do you take it? And one of the reasons for taking this money, we suspect or have even information that there are ulterior motives. One of the motives was that there are sometimes lenders who insist and say, take this loan, or else they give you conditionalities. If you don't take this loan, then we shall not give you another loan. I remember it's on record that Matia Kasaija, for example, the Minister of Finance, indicated that at one time, World Bank insisted they take up a loan of, is it gender? That unless you take that loan, then we shall not approve the other. Then the other issue is, to what extent are these people who are imposing a loan on you genuine? So we feel that that element needs to come out, and the transparency issue. You asked who should be responsible. If, I think it was him, who said, how come they are doing it and they get away with it? That's why we are recommending this time somebody who slept on the job without reading through. How can you tell me that we are delaying because the proposal is not written well? If it wasn't written well, then where were you? Why did you fast track the passage of the loan when actually you were not yet adequately prepared in terms of documentation?
Among the implementations suggested by CSOs for government includes minimizing confidentiality clauses and publishing contracts, as they preserve not only market-sensitive information but also prevent the publication of key terms and contents of loans. Rona Nahabwe, Business Today, Smart 24 TV.
Rona Nahabwe with that report. Now we look at inflation in the eggs, among the eggs in the country. Now, egg prices have increased by 47% in August compared to what they cost a year ago. This price of nearly every grocery item has ballooned over the past year. This has been driven by different factors. One is the high production costs, the rising fuel, the supply chain hiccups, and quite a number of the others. Let's have the details to this one.
The dealers have attributed the soaring prices to different forces involved in the chain of production.
Feeds are too expensive, maize is also scarce, that's why eggs are expensive. Eggs production is also low and the birds are little. Egg prices are still going up depending on what's happening. We have eggs, but they are too expensive to the extent that we buy a tray at 10,500 shillings, and we have to sell it at 12,000 in order to get a profit. I can't tell why the eggs are expensive. The prices are high, but also the demand is high.
The prices of chicken feeds have kept increasing due to the unfavorable weather conditions, for instance, the prolonged droughts.
The environment is very changed. Now we don't have seasons of rain. Today you can expect rain and you can find what? Sunshine. It is very too much. So we have that drought.
Feeds are too expensive depending on how things are.
The prices are expected to go higher because the rainy season has just started, which means the farmers are still preparing their tools for gardening. Monica Nabyonga, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
All right, now let's look at recycling of plastic materials in Uganda. Every day, Uganda generates around 600 metric tons of plastic materials and the plastic waste. And currently, most of this is banned, which releases lethal carcinogens, toxins and carbon dioxide into the environment. To curb the environmental dilemma, most people have been coming up with different ways of transforming the poisonous waste plastic into a beautiful recycled gem. Now, we take a look at the innovative ways of reusing plastics for any young innovator in the country. More of the details here.
In Uganda, PET bottles have a low recycling value. As a result, discarded PET bottles are usually either burned or thrown across streets and fields as litter. To make matters worse, PET is very difficult to process. Recycling creates jobs for people who collect recyclables and work in places where they convert wastes into new materials. This is a good way to protect the environment and economy, as Stefan explained.
We have come up with innovative ways of reusing plastics, where I and you sometimes people think of, I've taken my soda, I've taken my water and it is over, so I just throw it away. But it can as well become somebody's source of income. A person who is going to collect all the littered plastic out there has finally got something to do, because they bring them out of the environment and the environment is benefiting in one way. But two, we have skilled people to make items out of it. Where now you see, for instance, here we have flower vessels, which are very innovative and unique. You find what we call the kitchen gardens. Today things have gone, difficult, where we no longer have those, big chunks of land that we used to have. I'm in a town setting, I have my small rental where I have some small space and I don't need to buy vegetables. All I need is to play around with the same plastics, the same waste that has been possibly thrown somewhere or I've already reused, and I only need to play around with it and make a garden. And I have a constant flow of vegetable to supplement my diet on a daily basis.
Sebia Labeka says they recycle the containers once in a while, but in case of burning, they throw the used containers in a gazetted area.
Talking about the buckets that contain our paint, after using the paint, we urge the general public to always recycle them in places that are gazetted for either burning or complete destroyer, because our plastics are not that good for the soil where we really cultivate our food. So we always urge the general public to recycle them in gazetted places and clear them completely.
Stefan adds that their main objective is to help people, especially those with no jobs, venture into the recycling business where costs are affordable.
We generate as waste can actually be wealth. Number two, we are looking at it as things become waste simply because they are not sorted. Immediately, all what we refer to as waste is sorted, it becomes a source of livelihood, because at home if I sort my plastics, or somebody will come and say I need the plastics. If you sort the organic waste, somebody will say I need to compost and it becomes manure. A trash can goes for 20,000 shillings, Ugandan shillings, which is made out of reused bottles. Then we have a flower vessel. If it is empty, it is 20,000. When with a plant or a flower in it, it translates to 50,000 Ugandan shillings.
All right, and part one of Business Today takes a break. We return with more. Stick around with us. Good evening.
Smart 24, driving business.
Say goodbye to paperwork and travel costs. Now every MTN customer can register to invest in security.